We're on air.
We're on pod.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. Good to go, guys.
Great. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Layman's podcast. Just a classic spiel. We're on facebook.com/Layman's podcast, Instagram @Layman's podcast. Episodes are going up to Spotify and Apple Podcasts or iTunes, however you typically refer to it. People get confused about that all the time. Today, we're joined by Iain Mcintyre, CEO of HUMM Technologies. Probably start off explaining what you've rigged Lockie up to here.
Yeah, I got a new hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a TDCS device that you got rigged up to you. It's putting a current across your brain. What we're doing here is called the Savant montage, a montage being kind of like a video montage. It's a way of recording or talking about a current being put across a particular part of the brain using electrodes in certain places and current of a certain amount. But the Savant montage is intended to make you behave more like a savant, otherwise known as a highly functioning autistic person. And you should be able to be much more creative now. This particular setup was kind of designed by a Southern Australian researcher who's pretty famous in this world. And he was able to get some crazy results, getting people to do things like the 9-dot challenge. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
No, what's...
I have heard of that.
Yep. Your listeners should totally look that up.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
really frustrating challenge. So something like less than 5% of the population can solve this 9-dot challenge. You have 9 dots and you got to connect them with 4 lines. But if you do this type of stimulation for 10 minutes, 30 to 35% of the population can do it within 5 minutes. So,
I remember reading that. I think that's how I found out about the 9-dot challenge and then tried to do it.
right.
Yeah. I figured it out, but only with like a vague clue.
Right.
It was like, think outside the box. And I was like,
Yeah. So we're electrocuting your brain and we're making you more creative and smarter. So yeah, slightly more autistic maybe as well. So maybe conversation won't be as good, we'll say.
I was about to ask, like, does it actually make you a little bit...
Yeah, no one's like clinically tested that. No one's ever like objectively tried to measure are they behaving like more autistically. But
I've been feeling a little bit more autistic lately, so it might actually.
Yeah, we should be able to solve maths problems
wrap that
better.
up. Yeah, should I actually? Maybe I should like get sort of a problem going.
Yeah,
if you ask me a question or something.
Yeah, rapid fire questions.
Do you have any maths questions?
It's meant to give you like 120% improvement in your working memory. So you should be able to remember strings of numbers and move them forwards and backwards and order them and stuff like that a bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, we should have done a test beforehand.
Yeah. With the Kumon books out.
Oh, the Kumon books.
That's a deep
What
reference.
a nightmare.
But yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. It's an honor and a privilege to be on the same podcast as Chris Norman.
Yeah. Shout out, Chris.
Shouts out, Chris.
Yeah. So I guess welcome home then, really.
Yeah.
And so...
He was in that same seat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, he's coding at the moment. We left him at UWA to come here, so he's been a good boy.
Yeah. So you guys actually went abroad in, was it June?
Yep, it was early June.
Yeah.
Flew over to San Francisco.
Yeah. So basically, for people that are just tuning in, haven't watched the Chris episode, which I'd recommend go and check out, get a bit
Likewise.
of background. You guys were working within like an accelerator program here, and sort of like going out and sort of trying to drum up a bit of investment funds and stuff like that. And then you pretty much, how did you chase down the opportunity that you then sort of pursued over in San Francisco? How did that all come to fruition?
Yeah, it's like a combination of 3 things. Hustle on behalf of the accelerator.
Yeah.
They contacted us. This guy, Chon, who runs the fund of the accelerator, contacted us through the same website that we got into an Australian program last year on. We had to do our application there, and he contacted us seeing our profile and wondering, I wonder if these guys have made progress. They're doing something cool. And then the second thing was just blind luck. We happened to be in San Francisco that week to attend a conference.
Yeah.
And we kind of just decided to go to that conference the couple of days before we flew there. Logitech invited us to a conference called Cognitive Performing. And it was like about eSports, which is something that we've been working in a long time. How the brains of esports athletes can actually teach other industries how to optimize mental performance.
Yeah.
So they had like DARPA neuroscientists, like all divisions of the United States military, everything from like fighter pilots to special forces to like the the hackers, CIA guys and stuff like that, as well as people from eSports. So, like professional computer gamers earning hundreds of thousands of dollars to play games, as well as university researchers, et cetera, et cetera. So we decided to go to that because it fit us pretty well.
Yeah.
Good connections, good times. And we happened to be there when this accelerator was interviewing, and we decided to take up the offer, which came in the email. And then the third thing was, our hustle. We always knew that we wanted to end up in San Francisco, and we actually went over last year on a bit of a pilot trip, like a pathfinding trip. And the lab that we now work with over there is like the world leader in the stuff that we do. There are like hundreds of thousands of people who do the kind of stuff, electrical brain stimulation that we do over there, not just researchers, but people just playing around with it in their like backyards or at their job at Google and stuff. So San Francisco is really the place with the highest learning curve for us and the most resources. And so we always knew we wanted to end up there. So just a combination of those two things.
Yeah.
How did San Francisco, just as an aside, sort of become that hotspot?
It's an interesting question. A lot of people have different answers to that question.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then I think a question that a lot of people actually end up asking when they ask that question is, how do I make Perth or Sydney, the next San Francisco?
That's not an easy task.
Not at all. It's actually impossible. I think it's kind of a bit of a cliche at this point to say that like Perth is going to be the next San Francisco. Yeah. I think there's only really like a couple of places in the world that have a chance of doing that, but not for reasons of Perth being bad. We're good at what we do, and shouldn't aspire to be San Francisco. San Francisco has a lot of problems too. Yeah, I think San Francisco became too much inequality is my pet hate. But then also just like a lot of people very apathetic about enjoying their lives because they're being burned by companies like Amazon and stuff and et cetera. I think there was a study that came out recently that said like 50% of people who live in San Francisco actively want to leave and are looking for an opportunity to leave San Francisco. Wow. So everyone's just kind of like slave to this big AI building machine,
That's it. That's like the hub. That's where it's going to come online.
Yeah. Alex Jones has it, How did San Francisco become San Francisco? It's the ecosystem. It's a combination of everything that you need to take a startup and an idea and a piece of technology from an idea to like $1 billion business under 10 years. You look at companies like Google and stuff, and now you look at Netflix and things. All of them are just able to just massively accelerate in speed because they have access to investment. Yep. There are hundreds and hundreds of investors in San Francisco, more than I've ever seen anywhere else. The talent, San Francisco just has a name for people who want to be in tech to go to and find opportunities, and that just brings the smartest people in the world, and they're a resource that you need to make a technology startup. It's got a good government system, I think, for it. It's kind of like there's a little bit of freewheeling in the culture at every level, from the government down to the startups.
Yeah. Californian government. They're pretty progressive with that thing.
Yeah, they kind of just like, I don't know if they just let stuff happen or but then also it's like the weather is perfect and Perth has a lot of that too, but San Francisco is kind of unrivaled. It's kind of cool enough for jacket wearing, like permanent jumper wearing nerds who code all day, and sunny enough that you never have to wear a raincoat or anything like that. And a combination of those things and a couple other things, like its position in California, the 5th biggest economy in the world, its position in the United States, the biggest economy in the world, and its kind of ability to bridge between all the benefits of nearby LA and New York not being too far away. Like there's a lot of things that make San Francisco what it is, and Perth can do pretty well. Sydney can do pretty well. A lot of cities in China and stuff will get close to having that ecosystem, but I don't know. I don't think anything really comes close to San Francisco at this point.
I heard Austin's up and coming for that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to keep tabs. Like a lot of people tell you stuff that's really exciting. Like there's like opportunities for students to be paid to do startups if they're going to university in Texas, particularly in Austin. And like a lot of people say, Austin's like a cheap San Francisco in some ways. But then like San Francisco still has all of the world's biggest technology startups, like head offices. So San Francisco is not going away. I think it'll just become less, like the United States, it'll become less number one rather than it'll not be number one. Yeah.
I heard Tim Ferriss moved to Austin as well.
Oh,
Oh,
did
yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
there you go. Tim
Yeah,
Ferriss.
Texas is probably you can get away with a lot more in Texas. So.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, damn.
Especially if you like guns.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed.
So it's called the Skydeck accelerator program at the University of California, Berkeley.
That's it.
I did a bit of reading today on some of the other startups that have been accepted into the fall program, and there was a couple of guys that had worked at Blizzard and a few other companies that were trying to build some kind of
Corobox.
blockchain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. We like those guys a lot.
Yeah. Do you guys get to collaborate a lot with the other guys there and sort of trade ideas and come up with different things? And
Yeah, it's a bit of a stable house. We get lumped into this like co-working office space, which is kind of semi-permanent. We have our own setups, and then we're sitting next to a company who's all ex-Amazonians, and then over a little bit of the Corobox guys. Obviously, we're all doing really different stuff, and so you kind of spend 99% of your time working your own stuff, and then you have the odd casual conversation over coffee and stuff like that. But then, sometimes we find time to actually work with the other teams.
yeah.
To be honest, HUMM's actually got a lot more out of the other teams than we've been able to give back, because especially Corobox and the team we sit next to, Bungie, they are all really kind of like 28-year-old, have been working in the big technology startups in the United States and have learnt a lot, are incredibly intelligent technically, and have really good networks in the States already. So yeah, we got a lot of help out of Corobox connecting into the eSports industry. Bungie got a lot of help from like how to scale the technology we're building and stuff like that.
Bungie, as in, that used to.
Yeah, they're making a technology to scrape the entire internet really quickly, which it's like kind of hard to understand.
Like a trawler.
They basically built the scraping algorithm for Amazon, and therefore understand really well how it works. They haven't like walked away with it and copy pasted it. They've built something that anyone can use, not just e-commerce sites, to scrape the internet and get relevant results that they can use to adapt what a website does. So they're working with a whole bunch of very interesting internet companies to make use of that data.
Did Bungie have something to do with Halo? Am I thinking of the right company?
Halo's a Neurostim company in
Oh, I mean
San
the
Francisco.
game.
Is it? Oh no, that's a Bungie Studios. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
No, this is the little startup.
All right.
But yeah, cool
Same
reference.
name.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think you might be finished.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you might have come on. So we're gonna have
How do
to
you feel?
hook you up, Willis.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel?
And back to normal.
Well, you should feel the results for like different scientists will tell you different things. We're thinking it's pretty confidently about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you should be able to
Oh,
solve.
it keeps sort of, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea here is that you don't have to wear this all day. It's kind of like taking a pill. You have an effect for a period of time.
I forgot I was wearing it. There you go.
You know how to rig it up?
Yeah, I could definitely feel like a sense of focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I can imagine that you don't just sit there and like automatically
Yeah, one of the
get
interesting
smarter. Like you actually have to focus yourself.
One of the really interesting things about this tech is that unlike like a drug, you don't feel a lot of side effects. It's very targeted. I mean, this is pretty light current. We're not like doing it in a totally scientific way, but what you're actually doing is directly influencing the brain. And you do feel some things, like I'm going to switch it on now. You're going to feel a little bit on your skin. You might feel a little bit of, like some people report like a little bit of disorientation maybe. But it's almost like very, very temporary. I'm going to give you a little bit more than I gave him. You reckon you can handle it?
I think so, yeah.
Cool.
Give him 3 times.
I'm giving you 1.8 times. So, all right, here we go. There we go.
You look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that what I look like?
Yeah, you had a bit of a cool look about you as well, yeah.
You feel it?
I can't feel anything, but
Interesting. I wonder if the sponges aren't wet enough. No, we're definitely on. We're definitely on.
We have really rough heads that don't really feel anything anymore. So
I think it's just beyond your perception. You can't really feel it. What I was saying is that this is different in that you don't get a lot of the side effects that come with taking a drug. When you're like altering the chemistry of your brain, you get like jitters, or like you take caffeine, you get like a feeling of your heart racing and you being awake. This stuff kind of goes deep into the cognitive functions and just tweaks them. It's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing, because it means that if you can't really perceive like a placebo or like I feel like it's working, it can mean that you can't really like process it or like appreciate that you're getting a benefit from it.
Yes.
But at the same time, it could be really good because you don't have that side effect. You can not be distracted by it. It's one of the interesting things about this tech.
So like not a direct chemical stimulation like Adderall or something. I think we brought that up last time. Yeah, that's sort of in the background. So almost like a low dose of a nootropic or just a normal dose of a nootropic, or like a micro dose of.
Yeah, most people don't
LSD
kind
or
of
something like that.
perceive that it's happening as much, or the effect of it. Like you used it, now you should be getting the effect for an hour, and it's pretty high statistical certainty that you are, but maybe you just forget that you've got that perceived feeling. So if you went and did a math test, you'd get a better result, and you'd be like, oh wow, I don't really feel like I should get a better maths test result. But if you took some caffeine or like a modafinil or something like that, you'd probably feel quite different, and then you'd kind of attribute it back to that feeling. Yeah. And that's one of the challenges and interesting things about this technology.
Yeah. I think with caffeine, it's like you get a jolt of energy, but I'm not sure. I never really feel much of a cognitive benefit from caffeine, but I guess the benefit with that is with something that you can noticeably feel the effect, you're looking for that effect, and you want to do it again to feel that sort of dopamine jolt or whatever.
That's
but
it.
Yeah, with that, I can do it once a week, and I wouldn't be sort of looking for that next experience, wanted to do it for like an unnecessary reason.
Yeah, interesting. Hey, like, and from a company's perspective, from like building a product perspective, it's a challenge in that a lot of products don't necessarily actually give you as much of a benefit as the marketing tells you, but you get that dopamine cycle, that addiction to using the product. It makes you feel like you'll do better, and therefore you do better. Yeah. So how do we build a product that like really motivates people to keep using it when you don't feel that is an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. It's kind of like the technology is almost too good in some ways, like almost as if you took caffeine and got rid of that feeling of having drank caffeine. Would everyone line up for Starbucks in the morning?
Yeah, because there's definitely euphoria with caffeine and
for sure.
Smart drugs. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What do you feel? Anything? More focus?
Not just yet, but
You want me to throw you a math question? No?
I'll bumble it on pod.
You're afraid?
Oh yeah.
370 plus 3.
373.
Wow. There you go. That's an
we're out of the
endorsement.
woods.
Nice.
Yeah. So, there was a question that we asked Chris that I was actually really interested in asking you, and that was around some of the idea of like what happens if you develop a product and it's implemented in the eSports realm, and then people start coming in and slapping regulations on it and labeling it as performance enhancing, and like is that a significant concern, or what are your thoughts on that?
It'd be great. It'd be fantastic. Yeah, I mean,
You'd love people to be annoyed.
absolutely.
Oh, it's cheating.
Very
Then you know it's
disruptive.
working.
I'm sure Chris gave you the same
Disruptive.
cliche, but when Nike make a shoe that gets banned, and the first athlete uses it publicly and then it gets banned in the NBA, the first thing that happens after that is that the shoe sells out.
People want it.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, then people want it, and the vast majority of people buying these performance enhancing tools are not competing in the competitions where it's going to be banned.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the good things about this is it doesn't have a lot of the side effects of things like Ritalin, which people are already taking en masse. It doesn't have kind of the investment that you need to make in some alternative training activity that may make you feel better but might not help. So
Yeah.
There are a lot of good things that make me feel not bad at all about like helping people with this technology to perform better in an esports competition. But yeah, at the same time also I think it would be great. It'd be great PR.
Yeah. So that's very exciting. So when this product goes to market, irrespective of how it's received, whether there's regulations slapped on it or not, it's going to seem very attractive to the everyday guy who's playing League of Legends recreationally at home when he gets home from work, or the coder or the.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned perhaps as well like long distance truck drivers, but I think that's probably going to be less of a factor going forward.
Yeah, maybe I'll explain a bit how it works, and I think a lot of people initially think that this technology is going to like be banned, but I actually think it's going to be a bit slower because it's not really a technology that can like revolutionize your performance instantaneously. It can give you a benefit, and we're talking kind of like somewhere between, depending on the person, the situation, and etc., 10 and 100% improvement in working memory.
Yeah.
We're looking at a couple other cognitive functions, but that's the most important one that we care about. What that does is it means that you can learn faster. So the training process becomes faster. You can pick up skills faster. You can develop your overall performance in a shorter period of time. And so some of the research that got us onto this was DARPA research using similar tech to kind of double the speed at which a sniper could learn a certain task.
Yeah.
Some of the other research is kind of giving people the ability to get into a flow state faster so they get more out of their like study session and stuff like that. This tech is still kind of very much in its infancy. It's like computers in the 70s or something like that. It's not really been refined to the point that you can jump on a MacBook and make a Word document or a video editing software or something like that. This is still kind of like we can test different montages, we can pick the right one, and we kind of can test. This seems to work for most people and it seems to give a benefit. And if you use it for a protracted period of time, it gives you a substantial improvement in the speed at which you can learn a task.
Yeah.
But it's not like the limitless pill yet.
Yeah.
This stuff has the potential to be that, but it's not there yet. And so I don't think it's going to be something for nothing. That is the phrase that gets turned around in sports is like a performance enhancement thing.
Still got to put the work in.
You do. And this just makes the work faster and easier and can get rid of some of the side effects of the other alternative things like Ritalin that you could take if you were trying to get the same effect. So, yeah.
I think that's what, just on the Ritalin thing, that's a really strong point there. People would really be looking for an alternative to that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like caffeine is a global industry that needs a bit of disruption. And I think as this technology gets better and as we get better at the biometric stuff, like sensing the impact of what we do on to increase our performance, I think those industries will get disrupted by this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you think this kind of technology is it's gonna be a natural progression that it will become, I suppose, I want to use the term more invasive, but I think what I'm actually saying is it will become more integrated into our brain and become less of like a wearable sort of technology and more something that, without sort of going to the go-to buzzword, but it's like basically something that you can plug in or connect to like directly to your brain.
There's a couple of like crazy avenues for where this is going to go next. We were talking about Elon Musk before. And like the reason I brought this was, Elon Musk podcast with the Joe Rogan just happened and they was drinking whiskey, smoking weed. I thought, we'll do brainstem and make Elon look bad.
Didn't inhale.
Yeah.
Still goes through the mouth. I think an interesting avenue that this could go is internal. So at the moment, you've got a thing rigged up on the outside of your head, right?
Yeah.
Elon announced a company last year and put about 25 million into it. It's pretty dark. Who knows? Hired a couple of really intelligent scientists in the area to do invasive brain stimulation and interface. So they're doing surgery. They cut open your head. They implant something, and that research that started that area came from people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and stuff like that. But Elon's saying, okay, the problem, the external stuff is we got such a low resolution. I want to be able to target individual neurons. I want to increase that bandwidth of the interface by avoiding the skin and the skull, going inside the brain. But it's still very similar tech to what we're doing to you right now.
Yeah.
it's just passing electrical currents, treating the brain as a circuit, treating the neurons as parts of that circuit, trying to measure what's going on in them, tie that back to what we know that means in terms of brain states and like recognizing words and stuff, and then using electricity to alter that. So at the moment I'm making you more focused. Elon will be trying to put a word into your brain. They're fundamentally, mechanically and electrically the same. So that's one way that it could go. And on Elon's podcast with Joe last week, he teased that there's going to be a big announcement there in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to figure out what that means. He said something like, we're going to go an order of magnitude better than's been done before. That's very interesting because in the current brain stimulation research and deep brain measuring stuff, you're actually able to go down to the level of single neurons already. So we don't know whether it's like some emergent AI application where they're able to read what's going on in a more high level way and therefore it's more useful or so that's one way, the electrical internal stuff. When we were in New York last year, we went and met with another guy who's doing inserting stents, which are kind of like a tube that goes into arteries to keep them open. It's for people with cardiovascular disease and other things like this. This is an Australian guy from the Eastern States who has accessed some money from DARPA and has built a stent that's got EEG in it. So a way of measuring brain electricity, kind of cut a hole in your neck, push it up through here and it goes into the arteries in your brain. It sits there and battery powered by the brain and stuff. Yeah. So that's another way of doing the same thing. But then there's two other really cool ways. There's this company, Open Water, a lady called Mary Lou Jepson, a very famous and successful Silicon Valley entrepreneur. She was previously employed by Facebook to do their brain computer stuff and bailed out on them. But basically you can use light to do a very similar thing to what we do with electricity. If you shine a light into the brain, an infrared light, you can see where the blood's flowing when it bounces back. It's called tomography. It's like measuring where the particles and the waves kind of overlap and what that means and reading the emergent patterns. And you can also stimulate the brain with light by altering the chemistry that's occurring at the synapse and neuron level, or there's different methods of saying why that occurs. But what that eventually turns into, right, is like you walk into a room and there's a Wi-Fi router that's got this brain laser in it, and you interface with the internet. You can upload and download information. So maybe Elon's stuff will be made pretty out of date pretty quickly. We'll see. The other stuff is like optogenetic. So not just interfacing with light, but you can actually alter the genes of the brain of the neurons. So you shine a light at a neuron, you don't just like kind of turn it on or off. You can actually like cause it to do more and go lower resolution with the same amount of light. So like optogenetics has been, we think, invested in by Google. That'll be interesting. Yeah. And then there's also the nano drug stuff. So you can kind of swallow a pill that's full of nanobots and they go on and alter the brain a little bit or plug into a neuron each. Lots of cool stuff happening.
Sort of like an enzyme. Yeah. That was a lot on the individual neurons thing. I remember reading that each neuron has their own RNA, which is interesting that, there's an application there. I think I remember they recently found that out, which I guess is pretty interesting because there's a lot of epigenetic stuff they could do there affecting each neuron. Also the light thing, that's pretty incredible that you don't really think about it, but we've evolved for billions of years interacting with light, and you don't think about the kind of impact that it can have. That your mitochondria sort of react all day without you even consciously knowing it. I've seen studies where they can change people's mood. They can reduce.
There's a lot of nootropics that
depressive symptoms with just light therapy. I think pink light is that.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's interesting. Whenever you get this deep into the conversation, you're always talking about genetics and or brain-computer interface stuff, and sometimes they actually overlap.
Yeah.
Those two technologies, I think, are the technologies that are going to really revolutionize us as people, and then AI and et cetera, the technology that we interact with, and Elon's trying to plug them together and stuff. It's cool shit, hey? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's very cool.
He's got so much on his plate. I can't even believe it.
For sure.
Do you think we're much closer to seeing some technology come out that could have pretty much the same impact as the internet has had. Like we're sort of on the precipice of this, and it's gonna, do you think? Because it almost felt like with the internet, it sort of came in, but you didn't really feel too different about it. But maybe it's just an our age thing. But all of a sudden, looking back, you're like, wow, that really snuck up on us, and then completely changed the world. Like, do you think that we're possibly sort of in that period where things are happening very quickly, and in a very short time span, we're going to look back and be like, what just happened?
Like how iPhones, etc. I don't even remember not having one, even though most of my life I didn't have one. It was kind of like
it was only like 11 years ago now, right? Or maybe even 10.
Yeah. I got one like 2012. So yeah,
my co-founder got one of the first iPhones. I remember, like I had this like little Nokia brick, and I was like, oh, why would you want that?
Yeah.
And now everyone on Earth has
it. In third world countries, you can get it for fuck all.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been easy to predict what's coming, right? So it's easy to look back and go, it was obvious the internet was going to change everything.
We're pretty bad at it, actually, aren't
we? Indeed. We're not really wired for that. But I think that the cycle of that rapid change is getting shorter and shorter. Yeah. Different books talk about it in different terminologies, but the one that I like is the World Economic Forum's book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. It's just about how, or you can look at, Singularity University stuff. Singularity is coming. All of them talk about this exponential increase that occurs when multiple technologies mature at the same time. So, like AI in and of itself is pretty useful. But when you plug that into big data coming from IoT, so you can get data on everything that's going on in the real world. Yeah. When you plug that into brain-computer interface so the human can download that information in real time and process almost infinite amounts of information.
It's compounding, yeah.
You put just those three things together, right? Like a human knows everything that's happening on Earth and can make rapid decisions at the speed of computers. Then you add like quantum computing to that. So we're no longer limited by Moore's law. You can do actually insane amounts of computation in a short period of time. And you just keep stacking those technologies onto each other, and the exponential curve just gets more and more exponential in terms of like what's possible with technology. And I think we're getting to the point, probably have been at it for a while, where it's no longer like possible to even say in 5 years X will be possible. I was listening to a book on the way here, Stealing Fire.
I've read it.
Book.
Yeah.
Great book, eh? Yeah,
Amazing.
They were talking about how when they were planning the movie Minority Report, they got this group of like world-leading scientists, like the head of Media Lab and neuroscience at DARPA and stuff, to sit down in a panel and say, in 50 years, what will the world look like? And they were like, let's push it out a bit further than that because it's probably not going to change that much in the meantime. Yeah. And they were talking about, like AI being a real thing, self-driving cars. And that movie was set in like 2046. And they were like, this stuff will be new and possible, but the cycle of change is just so rapid now that, I think we're going to have a totally revolutionary technology probably every 5 years at the moment, just throwing numbers out here, and then it's going to become shorter and shorter. It's going to come year by year.
Yeah. Abacus scripts, giant computers that take up a room, smartphones. What the fuck's next?
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The quantum computing thing. That blew my mind because I didn't realize. I was like, the way it was described to me was zeros and one, ones and zeros, but it could be any of them at the exact same time. So it could be a percentage of a zero and a one. So
or both.
Yeah. So even
you want to find out how quantum computing works? Look up the Prime Minister of Canada explaining it.
Oh yeah,
all the ladies will love that one.
Trudeau.
Yeah, Trudeau. It's like normal electrical circuits can either work in binary, 0, 1, and quantum can be any and all in both at the same time, because you're talking about like information as waves. It can be plotted out as like a probability, but or you can like leave Schrodinger's cat in the cage and stuff. I mean, what will Google do with AI that is plugged into quantum computing? I guess we'll find out in 5 years.
Yeah,
that's exponential on a scale I can't even really think of.
One I'm excited about is nuclear fusion. That's kind of, once we figure out this brain-computer interface stuff, give it 10 years, we'll see. I want to move on to nuclear fusion, try and get that going.
Yeah.
It's been coming forever. And I did physics at UWA with a lecturer who was working on it and stuff, and really cool, right? Like if you can get basically unlimited power, then you don't have that resource constraint that we fight over globally and internally.
Oh, that's the key, isn't it? Because then anything's possible.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, and it's happening. I think we've surpassed the commercial viability limit. I think there's a multi-trillion-dollar international project in southern France where it's like the most complicated machine on earth, and it's huge. And we're now able to do like 17 minutes of fusion power by constraining it within a torus into like a ball.
Is it that donut shaped?
Yeah. I think it's the donut shaped one. There's a couple of different ones.
Or toroid,
Yeah, it's like the ridiculous laser shoots the piece of material, constrains it within a magnetic field. And actually I was reading about how advances in AI are making that more possible, because now you can have sensors all around it and like more accurately and quicker figure out how to like adjust the magnets to keep it stable and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all exponential, bro.
I feel like AI is going to be pretty important for aged care. I've been thinking about that lately. Like,
interesting.
There's going to be a lot of old people that we're going to have to take care of.
I've already seen a pitch for a company that was making a chat bot. You know, there's like basic AI conversational behind it to make old people happy. Yeah. I think China has a massive problem with the aging population and the families needing to take care of the parents. You probably see a lot of AI aged care tech for sure. It's
and
an interesting
healthcare
one.
just in general as well.
What makes you care about that?
I don't know. I was just thinking, I feel like the birth rate eventually is going to go down. The age population is growing. I don't know.
And we help make everyone live forever. You've got a bit of a problem with everyone sitting around nothing to do.
And we're gonna live longer. Hopefully, our health span is going to increase as well as our lifespan. Because what's the point?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think the neurodegenerative diseases that really limit our age span are also starting to have interesting things done in research. Some of the neurostim stuff that we do is actually for the purpose of breaking up the plaques in Alzheimer's.
Amyloid plaques.
Yeah. And we heard from one of our researchers that we work with recently that they've got a really big breakthrough to announce soon. Maybe that stuff will start going away. We'll see.
Physically, it breaks down amyloid plaque.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on this. Tim would be a good person to ask, my colleague, but I think they were able to prevent the plaque forming, but also break the plaque apart. And then there's like other things you can do, like ultrasound that is getting better as well to break the plaque up. Yeah.
Sort of almost like a exercise for the brain in a sense, maybe. In a very simple way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
I know
that's interesting.
The ultrasound stuff that we heard about recently was like vibrating the particles, and you can cause the plaque to break apart.
I have to keep my eye on that.
Yeah.
On that research.
I think you're done too.
Yeah.
It's probably it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're done. So you should be savanty right now.
That's it. I can feel it. Yeah, it's crazy how, I mean, it's kind of like obvious, but I like to sort of make comment on it, like just how insanely driven we are for improving ourselves and changing our circumstances and, manipulating our environment and pretty much doing whatever we can to push forward and just get better and better. And yeah, it's fun. It's really great to sort of have these conversations and actually find out like practically what are we actually doing? Like how is that kind of like innate desire in ourselves like expressing itself? It's
really hard to keep up with too, hey?
Yeah.
Like there's so much happening.
Yeah.
I like books like Stealing Fire because it's kind of, they don't dive too deep in any one thing. They kind of give you a broad picture. And in this day and age, I think just having that broad picture helps you decide on what part of the puzzle you want to work on.
Yeah.
That book was inspiring.
Yeah.
Very.
It's I listened to it while exercising because it was like it really like gave me a jolt. The whole Prometheus sort of tangent he goes on. Wow. Oh, I guess that's the basis of the whole book, Stealing Fire. But yeah, is that one of your book recommendations?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely read Stealing Fire.
Yeah.
Definitely get yourself into some altered states sometime too. It's a good thing to do.
Flow state. So fascinating. It's funny how for the longest time it was considered sort of spiritual, sort of woo, but it's really all based in neuroscience. It's really cool.
For sure.
So that's Ceiling Fire by Stephen Kotler.
Yeah.
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 I've heard him on a few podcasts, and I've been meaning to sit down and actually read that one.
Yeah. You should.
Yeah, you should. It's a pretty easy read too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not overly scientific or anything.
Yeah.
And they're very good at kind of making fun stories out of otherwise potentially dry topics.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I really like that book. Another really good one's Homo Deus. Have you guys heard of that one before?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it though.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the author right now. I think it's Noah something. It actually mentions the stuff we're doing. Oh, by the way, we're in Stealing Fire. We're in Stealing Fire. Yeah, we're not mentioned by name, but this guy, Andy Walsh, who's one of our advisors over there and is the guy who worked for Red Bull that then went to work for Logitech that invited us to the States, that got us into the accelerator. We were telling him about the stuff we were doing with gamers in like June last year, and then the book was written. We think that he, when he was interviewed, he mentions, they're even doing this kind of neurostimulation stuff for gamers in eSports.
I think I remember.
I think that's us.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
How far away do you think you are from having something ready to take to the market? Like, are you able to just sort of...
It's been an interesting couple of months, man. Yeah. So startups are like basically a group of people trying to figure out the answer to a hypothesis, and the hypothesis changes and you get more of them and they get more complicated over time, but we're still at the early stage. Like, we're doing a pretty radically big thing, trying to improve the performance of the brain, trying to tie together like hardcore science and people wanting to buy a product and needing to raise money and building a team that can do all of that. So it's not something that gets off the ground quickly, but our hypothesis is has changed now like 3 times. We started as we're going to build a device that combines, actually I guess in like late 2016, we started as we're going to build a brain sensing device that informs you of your emotions and helps you make better decisions. Yeah. Pretty quickly realized that was kind of boring and crap and difficult. And then we put that brain sensing stuff together with the stimulation stuff, which is what Tim did back in university that kind of got us started on all this transcranial magnetic. And we said, okay, what if we could close the loop? We could sense what's going on in the brain and then change it in real time and have that loop closed so that you kind of alter people and just be constantly improving. So we started by doing that. We spent like 6 months doing that, working with EEG, transcranial AC current stimulation. Pretty quickly realized that there were a lot of big technical problems, but we thought actually there's a bigger problem. People don't really understand how this is helping them. Like, different contexts are really different for how you use this device. So we kind of, we had started working with eSports gamers, but we kind of went more into the software stuff for like the last 6 months. And we're basically trying to figure out a way that we could use the biosensing, the biometric stuff to build a system that helps people improve their mental performance. We've always been doing this neurostimulation stuff that we got you to do tonight, but we were trying to do like a first step of building software where we could inform how we do the neurostimulation. But actually we realized that was too slow. And so a couple of weeks ago, we were in LA testing with some of the biggest gaming teams in the world, which is something we've been trying to do for a long time. It took a long time to get over to the States, a long time to get from San Francisco to LA, a long time to figure out the value proposition, get the teams to uptake, then it takes a long time to sell it to them and get it on the players' heads and stuff. So that's kind of all testing that hypothesis of whether we could use biometric data to help them first and foremost before we did this stimulation stuff. But actually we found they need something that like helps them really quickly, and because we weren't testing the neurostimulation stuff, we're doing like data analysis. We're pretty slow, and a lot of the esports players are not really like optimizing the basics. They're not sleeping in a structured way. They're not training like their bodies and their minds. They're not like thinking about cognitive performance so much as being like really good at playing games, because they play games a lot and are naturally talented. So we kind of found actually that we were kind of going down the wrong direction a little bit. And have realized that esports is a good place for this technology, but not everyone in esports is ready for it. And actually there are a couple of people who are always like championing it with us, but there's probably not enough of those people to make a venture fundable or like a really profitable business. So we've kind of now broadening our horizons a little bit and focusing on esports still, but also looking at biohackers in general also looking at people who don't realize they're biohackers, like people who go to work as an engineer, write down a spreadsheet of how they feel all day, and kind of try and optimize things like when am I sleeping, how am I sleeping. They're using flux to make their screen go yellow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things that are like kind of mainstream, not really you would call yourself a biohacker.
That's definitely in the realm of it though.
For sure. And so we're kind of thinking now, instead of just being an esports company, we're going to make the hardware, not the software first, the hardware and software to serve the hardware, and make it for those like broad groups of people, almost the same people who read Stealing Fire, people who are interested in like getting that cognitive state of flow so that they can work better. And that's kind of like the story of we've got started with that really basic hypothesis, kind of refined it a bit into a closed loop thing, then wanted to work on the software stuff, tested that for a long time, realized that actually that stuff's only valuable if you're doing the stimulation. Now we're kind of almost back where we started. But yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that could, being broad, I guess that could still filter back into the gaming sphere as well.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of
when they're ready for it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of gaming teams who are really excited to use that tech too. So we've got a good opportunity to continue working with those guys. We worked with a team called Ghost Gaming when we were back in the States, and those guys were like fighter pilot level cognition, playing Counter-Strike. Incredible. They could notice like a 15 millisecond lag in the computer.
Jeez.
Like beyond normal human perception.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to work with them. We learned a lot, and we were testing some cool stuff. And then we networked with Cloud9 a tiny bit, did a little bit of a demo to those guys, got some of the players to use it. Some liked it, some didn't. Tested how we do that process, and now we have a whole bunch of the other teams keen to work, and so we've got this opportunity to go and test this tech with them, and that's going to be really interesting. But at the same time, we just are looking for people who are interested in the product for the product's sake, rather than us trying to sell to the esports market, which is something we're finding that a lot of people need to be sold on this stuff. Only some people really see the benefit.
Yeah.
I think that's true of every startup. It's kind of, they call it product market fit. You got to find the market that suits your product, and you kind of simultaneously adjusting your product. But that's what we're trying to find. Like, how do we narrow down our customer? And it was probably like a psychological profile rather than like I'm an X person in X industry, like we had previously thought.
Yeah.
I've seen Cloud9 play Overwatch, and that's pretty terrifying. I can't imagine them being enhanced.
It's interesting, hey?
Yeah.
Those gamers, they're good at what they do.
Oh, can you imagine how good some like 6-year-olds are going to be?
Yeah,
in
I
sort
can.
of 10 years.
Yeah, they
They've
beat me
literally
on
grown
Fortnite
up.
all the time.
Yeah, with,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff
Yeah.
in their house.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to see this industry coming about, because it's I feel like, outdoor sports has probably had their fair share of it,
The head start with
and for a long time, like there was no like credence given towards cognitive performance, which is like, and when you say things about people's perception being, what was it, 15 milliseconds?
Yeah.
Like that, that has the same impact to me when I hear about, Michael Jordan being able to jump from the free throw line or whatever it was. Like these guys are superstars,
yeah.
It's good to see it sort of starting to build a bit of momentum, and it's going to be really interesting what kind of like peripheral things are built around that, like different, how it's going to optimize itself when we realize, I think we already have, the value of it, and how we can develop, I guess, effectively, like, products around that, as well as training and like optimizing it. It's going to be crazy, man.
Esports is so engaging. Like, I actually think it's going to be not the only sport, but everything is going to come more esport.
Yeah.
And esports, and there are discrete sports within esports, right? Like Counter-Strike is very different to Rocket League, very different to League of Legends. And there are heaps of games that will come between now and the 20 years when I think esports will be at its peak kind of thing. Like Fortnite wasn't really around more than a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think esports is going to just be huge.
So we're seeing the start of it, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, AFL, I think we mentioned it last time, but the AFL is already sponsoring a few
Telstra
things.
just invested in TSM, which is one of the teams that we're most interested in. They're like Logitech's kind of, Logitech really support those guys, and they're a really smart team. They just raised a $50 million round.
Jeez.
TSM did. And Telstra is one of the investors because this is kind of what we hear on on the line. Telstra want to like help the AFL, but also kind of earn from this process, get tighter with esports, kind of understand what's going on and get viewership. Yeah, and we've seen the AFL make moves in this area. You know, the Bombers have bought an esports team.
Yeah.
Yep. The SCG, there's a team called the Direwolves that have built an esports performance center. So, you know, SCG is obviously seeing it. There's another team. There's a couple of teams in Australia that have been bought by AFL teams. When you look at the statements, the AFL say we can see the viewership increase in esports just going up, and we want to understand that and integrate it into what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But I think the esports games fundamentally are just have more potential to grow too. And I don't think like not everyone can be a professional footballer, but maybe everyone could be a professional esports player, and we don't have other things to do anymore because AI is doing it all for us. So
Yeah.
I think I've missed the boat. I don't think I can. I got to train my brother. He's got a chance.
You can change your brain, man.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
No longer are we living in this like thing where you turn 25 and you can't change it anymore. This tech, but just basic neuroplasticity. You can do whatever you want.
That's a good point. That's inspiring. My brain hasn't finished changing. You're right.
Never does.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of that old idea of at one you get to a certain point and you stop growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never stop learning as well. That's one of the most liberating things that a person can realize is just...
Yeah. When I realized that I've got like decades of life left and I can improve every single year. Like, oh, yeah. It's pretty good.
We can do some cool shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of the guys that we know, just like my experience with this stuff, that Andy Walsh guy, who was previously the head of human performance at Red Bull. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you hear about like Felix Baumgartner, the guy they chucked out of the stratosphere,
that's crazy.
That was this guy, Andy Walsh, right? And he's like the one of the world leading professionals and quoted in all kinds of books and talks to NASA and stuff about human performance. And he's a PhD, but when he was 24, he was just a lifeguard on Bondi Beach.
Yeah.
Really?
And so he was like same age as us, right? And he's just standing on Bondi Beach. You know, probably a little bit dramatized, this story. It sounds sexy. But he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to like go to the States and make a life for myself. And now he's like, I think like 45, 50. But he's like talking to NASA, you know, he's in books about human performance. He's chucking people out of the stratosphere. He's like the head of human performance at Red Bull. You can totally revolutionize your life in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see lots of people like that.
I really like the whole anti-authoritarianism of it all. Like looking into the face of biology and saying, nah, we can do better.
Beyond the pale.
Yeah. Not even looking at the man, but looking at God himself.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Themselves.
Yeah.
I'll throw this one out there. We're close to just about time, but this might be a good note to end on. But what do you think in terms of like reflecting now on where you're at and all the characteristics that you have and your drive and ambition and things like that? Like what has been some of, if not the most important experience or realization that you've had that really catalyzed this process for you and set you on that pathway? What was the flint for the fire that's now like a raging, Yeah.
That's a really good question, man. I'm a pretty slow person, and I think it's taken me like 7 or 8 years to realize something that I was always kind of inherently aware of but never consciously acted on. You really should do what you love. And if you do what you love, you'll be successful, right? And people will want to support you because they want to be part of it. And people are generally nice and stuff. But yeah, when I finished school, I just thought I studied really hard. I enjoyed the structure of school and stuff like that. I'm going to go do the set path. I'm going to study law and become a lawyer, and I'll study science at the same time. It'd be interesting. Realized not really that interesting. Kind of do my own thing maybe instead. Started AMS, started the DJ company and everything that came after that. And it just like was a 7 or 8 years of coming to the realization that you can actually pick what you want to do, and you can pick doing something that you really enjoy. And it kind of got to the point where I was running my audiovisual company with a couple other really cool guys. But that wasn't either what I was like super passionate about. I was more passionate about like starting something new and building something from scratch. And I was like, I have this opportunity with these guys that I'm hanging out with, Ahmed, Tim, Chris, to actually make something that's going to teach us an incredible amount, that's actually doing what I want to do in the world, like making people's lives better, making them be able to do cooler stuff, making them have more of an impact. I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know how to like raise money. I don't know how to like build a technology company. Like, you know, I studied law and I went to school. That's all I ever did. And the DJ company and stuff like that, they were good, but they don't prepare you for this, I tell you that. And just coming to that realization and acting on it, and then getting positive reinforcement from people, and just pushing yourself to not accept failure. Like keep going, look for the next thing, and force yourself to do the one thing of just making sure that you're doing what you love, and keep pushing yourself to do it, and looking for it, and actually making sure you take the most of your one life. That'd probably be my. It's not really like ever a moment that I was like, oh yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the last 10 years of my life have been learning that by making small mistakes about what I wanted to do, like studying law, like like doing the DJ business, you know, and then just iterating and keep pushing yourself not to get in a rut, get stuck.
Yeah.
Waking up with purpose.
Yeah.
It's a human necessity, isn't it?
For sure. And it's been good. It's gone well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, credit to you. It's been really fun to watch you guys over the last two and a bit years that I've been following. Yeah,
thanks.
It's been awesome. So, it's been a pleasure for you to come on the podcast. I think we've
thanks for
had a
having
great
me.
conversation.
Yeah. I thought we'd come on and talk about life stories and stuff like that, but I love talking about the tech. That's great.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to go and do your maths problems now, so.
That's it.
No, I think I'm just going to go on the
do the
Discover
9
page
problem.
of Instagram and scroll.
You can scroll through that many more now. Have you done the 9 dot problem before?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Damn. It's a fun one to do when you've done this and all of a sudden get it. Yeah.
I've got mid-sem, so I'll try and carry this on for the rest of the night.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's been great.